Welcome to Rays of Hope, where inspiration meets possibilities. Join us on this journey as we explore videos that illuminate the path to positivity, resilience, and success. Why dissolving the ego can transform your life. Ever wonder why you sometimes feel stuck in patterns of negative thinking or self-doubt? It's your ego at work. In psychology, the ego acts like a filter between your true self and the outside world, shaping how you see yourself and others. Dissolving the ego means breaking down these boundaries to live more openly and honestly. This isn't about losing your sense of self, it's about shedding false identities that hold you back. Explore why letting go of the ego can lead to a more fulfilling, balanced life. You'll discover the impact of ego on your mental health and relationships, and learn practical steps to start dissolving it today. Dive into this topic to unlock a happier, more authentic you. Understanding the ego. When it comes to dissolving the ego, it's crucial to first understand what the ego is and what role it plays in our lives. The concept of the ego has been discussed extensively in psychology, with various theories contributing to our understanding. Definition of the ego. In the realm of psychology, the ego is often defined as the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and unconscious. Sigmund Freud, a pioneer in psychology, described the ego as one of the three components of the human psyche, along with the id and the superego. According to Freud, id represents our primal desires and operates based on the pleasure principle. Ego balances the demands of the id and the moral constraints of the superego. Superego embodies our internalized morals and ideals, often influenced by society and upbringing. Carl Jung, another influential psychologist, also talked about the ego but in slightly different terms. Jung believed that the ego represents our sense of self and personal identity. Unlike Freud, who saw the ego primarily as a mediator, Jung considered it the center of our conscious awareness. Other psychologists have expanded on these ideas, but the core concept remains the same. The ego is how we see ourselves and how we want to be seen by others. It's the mental image and beliefs we hold about who we are. Functions of the ego. The ego plays a vital role in our daily lives. It's the part of us that interacts with the world and helps us function in society. Here are some key functions of the ego. Mediator. The ego helps balance our primal desires and our moral standards. Think of it as a referee in a sports game, ensuring that both the id, desires, and the superego, morals, play by the rules. Decision maker. The ego is responsible for making decisions that align with our goals and values. It processes information, assesses risks, and determines the best course of action. Reality tester. The ego distinguishes between what is real and what is not. It helps us maintain a realistic outlook on life, preventing us from being overly swayed by fantasies or delusions. Identity creator. The ego helps us form our identity by incorporating our experiences, beliefs, and values. It acts like a sculptor, shaping our sense of self over time. Understanding these functions is crucial in the context of dissolving the ego. The goal isn't to eliminate these vital roles but to lessen the grip that a rigid ego can have on our lives. Imagine your ego as a pair of glasses. While they help you see clearly, sometimes they can be smudged, distorting your vision. Dissolving the ego is like cleaning those glasses, letting you see the world more clearly. Understanding the ego in this way can help us appreciate why it might be beneficial to dissolve it, leading us to a more authentic and balanced life. The concept of dissolving the ego. Dissolving the ego might sound like a complicated idea, but it simply means breaking down the barriers that the ego creates. This process isn't about losing who you are but about shedding unhealthy masks and self-images that limit you. Let's explore where this idea comes from and how it's understood today. Origins of the concept. The idea of dissolving the ego has deep roots in history and philosophy. It's a central theme in many Eastern philosophies and spiritual practices. In Buddhism, the ego is seen as an illusion, something that creates suffering by making us believe we are separate from others and the universe. Buddhists practice mindfulness and meditation to help dissolve this illusion and achieve a state of enlightenment, where they experience a oneness with everything around them. Hinduism also talks about dissolving the ego, but in a slightly different context. In Hinduism, the ultimate goal is to realize the self's true nature, known as Atman, which is connected to the universal spirit, Brahman. Many practices like yoga and meditation aim to strip away the false identities created by the ego. In Taoism, ego dissolution is about aligning oneself with the natural order of the world, or the Tao. The ego is seen as something that disrupts harmony by creating artificial desires and conflicts. Following the Tao means living a simple life and going with the flow, allowing the ego to dissolve naturally. Modern interpretations. Today, the concept of dissolving the ego has found its way into psychology and popular culture. In psychology, particularly in transpersonal psychology, dissolving the ego is viewed as a way to achieve higher states of consciousness. Psychologists suggest that when we transcend the ego, we can tap into deeper levels of creativity, empathy, and understanding. Popular culture has also picked up on this idea. Books, movies, and even social media often talk about getting over yourself, or finding your true self. These phrases are modern takes on the ancient idea of dissolving the ego. They suggest that by letting go of our inflated self-images, we can lead more meaningful and connected lives. In recent years, the use of psychedelics in controlled settings has gained attention for their potential to help dissolve the ego. Researchers are exploring how substances like psilocybin and LSD can temporarily dissolve the ego, allowing individuals to experience a sense of unity and oneness with the universe. As you can see, dissolving the ego isn't just an old philosophical idea. It's a concept that has practical applications today. Whether through meditation, self-reflection, or even scientific research, people are finding new ways to break down the barriers the ego creates and live more fulfilling lives. Benefits of dissolving the ego. That's it for part 1. We've covered the basics of the ego and its impact on our lives. Stay tuned for part 2 where we'll discuss the benefits of dissolving the ego. Thank you for joining us on this uplifting journey with Rays of Hope. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe to stay tuned for more videos that spark hope and empowerment. Until next time, keep shining brightly. Thank you for watching.